Hi, it's Saturday the 16th of July 2022. I'm spending summer walking from Land's End to John O'Groats. This morning I'm in Stirling and I'm spending 3 days walking to Perth. I'm on my way down to Stirling Old Bridge where I'll be crossing the River Forth. I had a look online last night to find out when the bridge was built. I had a look at a couple of websites and they didn't give an exact date. They just said around the year 1500. So I'm not sure when the bridge was built. But where the bridge is now, this is the site where the Battle of Stirling Bridge took place in 1297. So in the 13th century, before this bridge was built, there used to be a wooden bridge, a very like a narrow wooden bridge. Local archaeologists believe it was just upstream of the current bridge, and that was a bridge which was basically just wide enough for a horse and cart to cross over, and that played a significant role in the Battle of Stirling Bridge. So in 1296 the English King Edward I invades Scotland with a large army, and he occupies the country. And the following year, 1297, a man called Andrew Moray starts a revolt. He leads a Scottish revolt against the English army, and he starts to have a lot of success in the Highlands, and the Scottish army starts moving south down to Stirling, which at the time was a very important town. This was a very important crossing point over the River Forth, and the English at the time, they held Stirling Castle, and so they brought a large army up here, and they decided that here they would try and stop Andrew Moray from advancing further south. And then Andrew Moray was joined by William Wallace, better known as Braveheart, and they had a combined army of about 6,000 soldiers, and they were based on the high ground just north of the river. The commander of the English army was the Earl of Surrey, John de Warenne, and he had an army of about 9,000 soldiers. They were based on the south bank. And so on the 11th of September 1297, the two armies were facing each other across the river, and the Earl of Surrey decided to advance, and the only way he could do it was by crossing the very narrow wooden bridge. There was a ford about 2 miles further upstream, and it was suggested to him that the army could cross there, but he thought that would take too long. So on the morning of the 11th of September, the Earl of Surrey decided that the only way to cross the river was by crossing the very narrow wooden bridge, and so the army started crossing it. And this was of course a very slow operation, 9,000 soldiers having to cross this very narrow wooden bridge, and this obviously was this led to his downfall. The two Scottish leaders were watching what was going on, and they realised then that they had this opportunity to start attacking the English army before they had fully crossed the bridge. And so that's exactly what they did. And so when about 2,000 of the English army had crossed the bridge, the Scottish army then attacked, and they forced the English army into the river, so a lot of them drowned. And they also took the bridge as well. They controlled the east bank, the east side of the bridge. And so all the Earl of Surrey could do, his army couldn't help the soldiers trapped on the north bank. So he just destroyed the bridge, and he had to retreat, and eventually the Scottish army pushed the English army back out of Scotland. On the high ground overlooking the river is the William Wallace Monument. So I'm just going to see if I can go up there now. Just arrived at the Wallace Monument, which was built to commemorate the battle. It's a pity it's got a bit cloudy today because there's some fantastic views up here. The Wallace Monument is a 67-metre tower on Abbey Crag, a hilltop overlooking Stirling, and it commemorates Sir William Wallace, a 13th and 14th century Scottish hero. It was built in the 1860s in the Victorian Gothic style. A number of artefacts are in display inside the monument, including the Wallace sword, a long sword measuring 1.63 metres and weighing almost 3 kilograms. So today's plan, I'm walking to Dollar and then I'm going to get some food and water in the town, and then I'll be heading into the Ochil Hills where I hope to be camping in the woods tonight. Some really nice views of Stirling on the way down. This is quite a nice walk heading into Dollar. I'm about a mile away now, and this is a disused railway line that I've been following for the last couple of miles. So I'll soon be at Dollar, so I'll get some food there. And then just to the north of the town, about a mile away, there's an old ruined castle called Castle Campbell. And the inside is closed to the public at the moment because they're doing restoration work, but I'd like to go up and have a look at the outside of the castle and see what the views are like from up there. Just been to the shop, so I've got all the food I need for the next couple of days. So now I'm heading up to Castle Campbell. Just arrived at Castle Campbell. This is as far as people are allowed to go. They've closed the entrance now for the restoration. Castle Campbell is a medieval castle situated above the town of Dollar in central Scotland. It was the lowland seat of the Dukes of Argyll and then the chiefs of the Campbell clan from the 15th to the 19th century, and was visited by Mary, Queen of Scots, in the 16th century. The castle dates back to around 1430 and was originally known as Castle Gloom, possibly deriving from an old Scottish word for a chasm and referring to the narrow gorges on either side of the site. So now it's time to try and find somewhere to camp for the night. Much better view of the castle from up here. Found a nice secluded spot in the woods about a mile away from Castle Campbell. So I'm settling down for the night. Then tomorrow I think I'm walking to a small town called Dunning, and then I'll be camping just after that, and then I'll be heading to Perth the morning after. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Sunday the 17th of July. Today I'm continuing walking through the Ochil Hills. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think you've got to be Scottish to be able to pronounce the place name properly. Well, I'm heading towards the village of Dunning, and then I'm just going to get some more food and then camp on the other side, and then tomorrow morning I'll be arriving in Perth. That's Glen Key Reservoir just over in the distance. This is looking south where I've just come. I think this is Glen Devon, and I'm following this all the way to the top. Then I'm about 7 miles from Dunning now. I think it's going to be getting quite sunny this afternoon, so hoping to get some scenic shots. That was actually Borland Glen I've just came up. Glen Devon is a much larger glen further down, which all the rivers flow into. I'm just approaching Glen Corb now. This is looking northwards. Just approaching Corb Glen, and then I think it's all downhill now to Dunning and then to Perth. I'm about a mile away from Dunning. Unfortunately, every time I stop now I get attacked by midges and flies, so I've had to put on my long sleeve shirt and long trousers. So I guess it's the midge season now. Over in the distance I can just see some mountains. I think that may be the Cairngorms, and I'll be spending 2 or 3 days walking over the Cairngorm National Park on the way to Inverness, so that'll be quite scenic. I've just arrived in Dunning and I've just been to the local convenience store, so I've got some snacks and drinks for the night. You can get a cup of coffee in here as well, and this is quite nice. They got a little bench area where you can sit down and have a cup of coffee just by the river. So there's a wood with public access about half a mile just outside the village, so I'm going to go up there in a minute and find a nice camping spot. I found a nice quiet spot in the woods just outside Dunning. So now I'm just going to settle down, and tomorrow it's a very short walk to Perth. I think it's only about 10 miles to my hotel. And then from Perth the next day I'll be heading towards the Cairngorms. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Monday the 18th of July. So today a nice short walk to Perth, which is probably a good thing because today might be the hottest day on record in the UK. They say it might hit 40 degrees Celsius in the southeast of England, so it could be just quite warm in Scotland as well. So I hope to get to Perth. I'll get to Perth about 11 or 12 o'clock this morning. I'm just approaching Perth, so this marks the end of my Scottish Lowlands stage, and this is the start of my Scottish Highlands stage, although I'm looking at this as 2 different parts. The first part is I'm spending 9 days walking to Inverness, where I'll have a couple of days rest, and then the final stage is the John O'Groats Trail, and this is a walking trail. I think it's about 140 miles long. And that follows the coast from Inverness up to John O'Groats. So that should be quite an enjoyable end to the walk. I've just arrived in the centre of Perth, so I'm just going to pop over to my hotel and drop off my bag, and then go for a little walk around the town centre. I've just popped over to the east bank of the River Tay, so I think this is where you get the best views of the town. Perth was once Scotland's capital, and it was much favoured by King James I, and it was known as the Fair City of Perth, with its tall spires and the River Tay flowing through it, and that inspired Sir Walter Scott to write The Fair Maid of Perth. That's St Matthew's Church, just on the other side of the river. That's the old bridge. And this is the view from the old bridge. And this is the pedestrianised St John Street. And this is the High Street. It's getting a bit hot now, so I'm going back to the hotel to get in the shade. Tomorrow I'm walking to Dunkeld, or I'm hoping to camp in the woods just outside the town. So until tomorrow, good night. Tuesday the 19th of July. Today I'm walking to Dunkeld, and I'll be camping in the woods just outside the town this evening. First part of the walk is along the River Tay, but I think pretty soon I'll have to start following an A road up to Dunkeld. I think for most of the walk up to Inverness I'm following the national cycle route number 77, and I quite like following the cycle routes, the Sustrand cycle routes, because they're usually along nice quiet routes, so you can plan ahead and know it's just going to be a nice quiet walk. I'm about 4 miles from Dunkeld, so I should be getting quite close to the Cairngorms National Park. Tomorrow I'm going to Pitlochry, and then the day after that I'm going to walk to Blair Atoll and get some food, and then I'll be spending a couple of days crossing the Cairngorms National Park to Kingussie. So that should be quite a picturesque walk. The UK is having a bit of a heat wave at the moment, but I think tomorrow it's going to be cooling down a bit, so should be quite an enjoyable walk. Just arrived in Dunkeld, so I'm just going to go to the supermarket and then head up to the woods just north of the town. And this is the River Tay flowing down to Perth. Very pretty high street. I found a nice spot to camp in the woods just outside Dunkeld for tonight. Fortunately, there's no midges or mosquitoes in this forest, but the flies are starting to come around the tent now. So I'm just going to get in the tent and put the mosquito net up and then plan my route to Pitlochry tomorrow morning. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Wednesday the 20th of July. So today it's just a nice easy walk to Pitlochry, and then the next couple of days I'll be hiking through the Cairngorms National Park to Kingussie. Nice view of the River Tay from here. I'm spending today following the River Tay up to the River Tummel, which is a tributary of the River Tay. And then I'll be following the River Tummel up to Pitlochry. So I'll just be following the valley walks today. Just crossing the River Tummel. So I'll be following this river to Pitlochry. I'm about a couple of miles from Pitlochry now. I can just see it over in the distance in the valley, so should be there in about an hour or so. Pitlochry is largely a Victorian town which developed into a tourist resort after Queen Victoria and Prince Albert visited the area in 1842 and bought a Highland estate at Balmoral, and the arrival of the railway in 1863. It remains a popular tourist resort today and is particularly known for its Pitlochry Festival Theatre, Salmon Ladder, and as a centre for hill walking, surrounded by mountains such as Ben Vrachy. Just arrived in the centre of Pitlochry, so just going to find a supermarket and then find my hotel. I've got a room booked at the YHA in Pitlochry, which is nice and central. So tomorrow I'm going on a 3-day walk across the Cairngorms National Park to Kingussie. I hope the weather is the same tomorrow as it is today. So until tomorrow, good night. Thursday the 21st of July. So this morning I'm walking to Blair Atoll. I kept calling it Blair Atoll yesterday. So I'm just going to go there, it's just a short walk. And then I'm heading into the hills where I'll be spending a couple of nights walking to Kingussie. I've just arrived at the pass of Killiecrankie, and not far from here there's a battlefield It was the Battle of Killiecrankie, which took place on the 27th of July 1689, and this was during the 1689 Scottish Jacobite Rising. So a Jacobite force took on the government army, and the Jacobites won the day. It's not, I don't think it's possible to actually go and see the battlefield, but I'm very close to a place called Soldier's Leap. And there's a famous story about one of the government soldiers was being chased by the Jacobite Highlanders, and he was chased down to the River Garry, and when he got to the river there was a chasm about 18 foot wide, and so he had to just leap over this chasm in one go, and he did it. He jumped over the chasm and he lived to tell the tale. And so I'm just going down now to have a look at the Soldier's Leap. I've just arrived down at Soldier's Leap. So the large flat rock on this side of the river, that's where Donald MacBain jumped onto the other side of the river. And the distance, it was about 18 feet or about 5.5 meters. It'd be interesting to see if any modern day athletes try doing exactly the same thing, but it does look a bit dangerous crossing that. Just approaching the town, so going to get some food here and then head for the Cairngorms National Park. I've just left the town. I'm now heading into a nice big forest. So in about 20 minutes or so, I think I'm going to look for a camping spot and then have a break for the day. Decided it's still a bit too early to put the tent up yet, so I'm continuing on. That's the Banvie Burn. That's the stream I'm following up into the national park, and I hope I'll probably camp about a mile or so up here. Friday the 22nd of July, I found a good spot to camp last night, but there's so many flies and midges last night. As soon as I put the tent up, I just had to quickly get inside and put up the bug net for the night. It's actually quite cool this morning. It's a lot cooler than it has been on the walk, but it's going to be quite dry, so I think it's going to be really nice weather for hiking. So today I'm going to continue my walk through the Cairngorms National Park. First part of the day I'll be walking along Glen Brewer, and then after that there's a high point I want to get onto, and then hopefully if it gets a bit brighter today I'll get some nice views. A lot of the names of the hills and the mountains in the Cairngorms, they've all got Scottish Gaelic names, so I'm not going to try pronouncing them. I'm just going to put subtitles at the bottom of the screen if I visit some really nice places along the way. Just arrived at the glen, and there's a very nice track going along it. I think I'm heading towards that big hill over in the distance. It looks a bit misty at the moment. I'm hoping that by the time I get there the mist is going to clear up a bit, because I'm hoping to get some really good views when I get up there. But I've got a lot of time, so I'm just going to take my time today. I'm just approaching Brewer Lodge. This is quite a large building. It's very isolated. I guess it's just used by people who do mountaineering and kayaking and other sort of outdoor pursuits. So I'm just going to cross the river at the lodge and then carry on through the glen. I'm just approaching the northern end of the glen now. I'm coming up to a bridge, and I'm going to have a little break there, and then that's when I have to start. I have to leave the track and start going up and doing a bit of hill walking. The low clouds starting to clear a bit now, but I think it's just going to be a very grey day today. But I'll see what it's like when I get to the top. Just going to have a little break by the bridge, and then it's time to start walking up the hill. I've just arrived at the high point. I think this is the highest point of the walk I'll be doing, actually. And unfortunately, I'm in the middle of a very big cloud. There's a lot of low cloud still, so not going to get many good views. Though it is nice and cool for walking, I must say that. I think I'm going to do about another 5 miles today, and then I'll probably camp then. Then it's quite a short distance into Kingussie tomorrow morning. Weather's starting to clear up a bit now. I'm heading for somewhere called the Gage Pass. I think that's how it's pronounced. And while I'm walking along there, I'm going to look for somewhere to camp. If I can get a mobile broadband signal, and if there's a stream, then I'll call it a day and put the tent up. Some nice person has put all these white marker stones up along the route. So it's quite useful, because sometimes the path does get a little bit difficult to follow, but you just keep following the white marker stones. So I should be getting some nice views of the north soon, because I'm getting towards the northern side of the Campbell National Park now. So quite nice views from here towards the north. Just over there in the middle distance, there's a forest, and it's quite flat ground, I think, and there's a stream just in front of it, and that's about 10 miles away from Kingussie. So I think when I get to there, I'm just going to call it a day and look for a camping spot. I found a really nice spot just before I got to the forest. It's a nice flat, comfy piece of ground. I'm well sheltered from the wind and the rain, and I've got all the drinking water I need for tonight. But the only problem, there's no radio reception here, and there's no internet reception, so it's going to be a bit of a boring night. But it's good enough soon. I'll be going to sleep soon anyway. So tomorrow it's just a nice easy walk to Kingussie. So until then, good night. Saturday the 23rd of July. It was a little bit wet this morning, but the sun's starting to come out now. So this morning I'm just following the river down off the mountains. Nice views looking north. I've just got onto this nice track now, and this will be following the glen all the way into town. So I guess I can put the map away now. About 3.5 miles from Kingussie. Just over in the distance is the Spey Valley. Kingussie is on the River Spey, and I'll be following the river for the next couple of days. I'll be going to Aviemore, and then to Boat of Garton, and then I'll be heading northwestwards to Carbridge and then to Inverness. So I'll be arriving in Inverness in 4 days' time. And this is the River Tromie flowing off into the River Spey. Just arrived in the centre of Kingussie. I'm staying in a hotel tonight, and then tomorrow I'm walking to Aviemore, where I've got a hotel booked there as well. So I think I've got enough footage on my GoPro now, so I think I'm going to upload this video tonight. So thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope to upload my next one soon. Bye!